Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? It's me, your girl Viv, and welcome to another edition of the Veterans Lounge. Hopefully you guys saw the title. Today we're going to be talking about the different levels of PTSD, the different levels of PTSD. And you guys, the reason why I decided to do this topic today is because of a great person by the name of Gold Professor sent me an article. And the article that he sent me was, let me see. He sent me a couple of articles. Delivering holistic care through recreation and creative therapies. Delivering holistic care through recreational and creative therapies. Although today, hey Celine, how are you? Okay, so basically to say, although today is the last day of the month, I want to take the time to acknowledge February as National Recreation Therapy Month. Alternative therapies play an important role in the improvement of overall health and wellness in our nation's veterans. Recreational therapies build upon the philosophy that leisure activities are critical to helping veterans live independent, self-directed lives and are designed to rehabilitate their level of mobility and independence. Celine, all is well. I am so happy to see you. I really am. I really am. Um, as you guys know, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my lucky lotto lunchtime scratching, South Carolina lucky lotto scratching. So that's what I'll be doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays, I am trying to still decide on the time because a lot of my veterans are still at work, but Wednesdays will be my veterans lounge. Hey Shell, how are you? And what I'm going to do in reference to my veterans lounge, I'm still trying to put the time because I don't want to step on other people's toes. But guess what? People don't worry about if they step on my toes. So I guess I'm just going to do what I do, y'all. Then Fridays is still going to be my fun flirty fashion. Fun flirty fashion is going to usually probably be an upload. Tuesday and Thursday will be an upload. Wednesday, majority of the time, Wednesday will be a live because veterans need to discuss veteran stuff. Okay, so back to this article. So just remember the VA offers lots of VA recreational therapy and specialty programs. And some of the VA recreational programs that they have art therapy. I know they have music therapy. I know I went to Saratoga War Horses, which I got to deal with animal behavior, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy by working with horses. And they have lots of different programs that you can go to as a veteran. That was one. Let me see. The other one was this one right here. I'm gonna do it. This one I'm not going. Hey, Chocolate Cocoa, how are you today, sweetheart? I'm not going to do this one. I also had an article about these veterans in San Antonio, Texas, they made a holiday to honor these black soldiers. They had a riot now and they hung them all. But we'll talk about that on another occasion. The other thing I want to touch on was I need you guys to go to your local veterans hospitals because, like I said, like in Martinsburg, West Virginia, they say they treat about 220 20 veterans each year who suffer from post traumatic stress disorder. And they were talking about the residential care. The residential care. So let's talk about some of the things that some of the different levels of PTSD. And that's what I wanted to talk about y'all today. I want to talk about the levels of PTSD. All right, so first off, oh, I know what I did. Y'all, I'm still learning this stream y'all thing. Don't fault me. Don't fault me. Y'all, I'm still learning the stream y'all thing, but I'm gonna show y'all this because we're gonna talk about the different levels. There you go. There you go. Share. Share a screen, share a tab. There you go. All right, so let me make sure y'all got this. Y'all can see it real well. Now, if you guys are suffering, anybody suffering from trauma, PTSD, you know, so we're gonna talk about the history. There's 5 types of PTSD. You got the Vietnam era. Um, Let me see. That's not what I want to do. Okay. So you got fight or flight. Fight or flight is a big part of PTSD. For those of you who don't know, when you have post traumatic stress disorder, one of the main things you want to do is you try to decide is if you're going to fight or if you're going. Hey, how are you? And you know what? PTSD is no joke. It is no joke at all. And I tell anybody, it's something a lot of people don't believe in it, but you really PTSD is something that especially people in your family and life that experience it, it can be a scary situation. People don't realize how scary PTSD can be. They really don't know how scary PTSD can be. PTSD will make you think that you're reliving that situation over and over again. And it make you either want to fight, and a lot of times we having conflicts in our head in reference to what's going on at that time. So for instance, thank you for the cash app. I appreciate that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, PTSD has it's not a continuum. A lot of people don't realize that PTSD is not a continuum. There are shades of PTSD and there are levels to this PTSD. PTSD don't just, oh wow, I'm just going, it's different. That's why PTSD can be treated to certain points. If you understand. So there are levels to PTSD. And some of the different levels to PTSD, let's talk about them. Criteria A, basically the threshold. Let's just say you've experienced a life threatening circumstance. And this life threatening circumstance may have caused you grave bodily injury or threat. The threshold concept is you have high anxiety. You have high anxiety, okay? You anxious. You might not do too much about it, but you anxious. You on alert. That's like level 1. Level 2, or B criteria. You start reliving it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You start reliving. You start reliving what's going on. You end up having night sweats and things of that nature. You it's like, yeah, woof, this is, oh my God, it's happening all over again. You also have recurrent recollections of the event to include images, thoughts, and perceptions. That's one of the reasons why I have issues with closets, lockers. I tell everybody that I suffer from military sexual trauma. I was raped by my senior drill sergeant during AIT in a closet. So at certain times, closets distress me. That's why in my house, I keep closet doors open when I can. Um, that's some of the things that help me. Also, recurrent dreams of the event. Recurrent dreams of the events for me would be, I call them night terrors, where I feel like something's sitting on my chest. I can't breathe. I can't move. And I'm having this nightmare of this situation happening to me all over again. It's very hard to get sleep because of the dreams and the nightmares. Another thing is acting or feeling as if the traumatic event were reoccurring. I've had those episodes where you'll have flashbacks. So, for instance, or it might the next one might be the thing for me: intense psychological distress and exposure to internal external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic event. That's more what happened with me. For instance, if you see a lot of veterans that have been wartime veterans, they don't like to be out during fireworks because boom, 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 all that noise make them think they're reliving war. Whereas with me, an external cue for me was when I was in the classroom and a young man grabbed my breast. That switched something on in my brain to make me feel like, oh my God, somebody's trying to violate me again, which caused me to react. And I reacted in a very, very violent way. Um, some people call it combat alert or whatever. It's like, I had to fight because I felt like, well, he was violating me, but it was terrible. Um, Criteria C is when you start numbing and doing avoidance. Numbing could be people that drink, people that isolate themselves. Uh, they do whatever they need to do to isolate themselves from their feelings so they don't have those feelings of being violated again. And nothing causes the stimuli. There's no stimuli to cause you to have those feelings. It's efforts to avoid the feelings and thoughts. You avoid conversations. You avoid situations. You avoid people, places, and things that arouse the recollection of the trauma. For instance, with me, I avoid closets. Also, when you numb or do avoidance, you push down the trauma. You basically lock that trauma away someplace else. So, for instance, as to avoid, you can't recall certain aspects of the trauma. If you understand what I'm saying, there are certain details that it might be missing segments. Y'all, I ended up going to this cognitive behavior class, cognitive behavior therapy. It was a one-on-one session with a therapist through the VA. Through that class, there were parts of my assault that I had pushed down. It was so traumatic, I had pushed it down. And because of my feelings and my self feelings, I felt like it was my fault and I had pushed those things down. It was kind of like an amnesia, y'all, for certain parts of of the what happened. Also, because of what happened to me, because it was a military sexual trauma, I did two things. The first thing I did was I started to act out more. um I became promiscuous. I laughed and I told people I'm a recovering whore. My therapist told me that that's just um a way that I it's like a defense mechanism for me. But also, you guys, there was a time where I avoided sex. I avoided sex like the plague because of what happened to me. Um, because of what happened to me, I have a hard time dealing with getting in relationships with people because of You have intimacy in relationship. And sometimes I feel like I have to buffer myself or keep myself shielded so that I won't be hurt again. Now, I don't know about anybody else's situation. I'm talking about Vivian's situation. And because of that, from time to time, I feel detached and estranged from others. I also restrict myself from having close feelings towards certain people. Um, Also, at times I have had senses where I felt like my future has been shortened. At times I don't expect to be married again because of the disability. And at times make me feel like, am I really good enough to be in a marriage with somebody? I've even had times where I was like, I don't even want to be here anymore. Okay. I've also had senses of increased arousal. By that I mean, by my increases of arousal, I mean, by my increases of arousal, I mean like I have difficulties falling asleep. Y'all, because I have difficulties falling asleep. When I'm at my mom and my dad's house or my sister's house, I laugh about this all the time, especially like when we have family dinners. Wherever I fall asleep, everybody let me stay asleep because they know I don't sleep that much. Y'all, I get maybe 3 hours of sleep a night. And but when I go to sleep and I'm sleep, my fam like when I'm with my family and stuff, I feel safe, so I go to sleep. They let me sleep wherever I'm at. They just step over me. If I'm laying in the floor, I can be laying off the bed like this. They just gonna step over me, let me sleep. And y'all, I'm tearing up. Don't think I'm upset or nothing. I'm fine. I am fine. Now, the other thing is irritability or outbursts. That's why I don't argue with people. People like, Miss Viv, they be saying stuff to you. Why don't you just come back at them? Why don't you argue with them? Why don't you say whatever, whatever? And I understand, Shelly. I understand. And thank you, Kay. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. But you guys, I'm gonna tell y'all seriously. That's why I don't argue with people. Anybody who knows me, I've always said I don't argue with people because of my anger and my irritability. Unlike a lot of people that do this arguing back and forth stuff, I can't do the arguing back and forth stuff. And there's a reason for that. Because I have a tendency that I don't just argue back and forth, I will act on it. So, for instance, if I'm not going to argue back and forth with you, I'm just going to act on it. I'm going to take this to a new level. We about to put hands on each other. And I know y'all probably like, she sound crazy, but I will. Unlike a lot of these people, oh, I'm gonna do this. Nope, I'm taking a trip. I'm taking a trip. My other thing is, I do have a lot of trouble concentrating. I don't know if you guys noticed during the live sometime, I'll be like where was I at, or what was I doing, or what's what? Because a lot of times with the PTSD, it causes me to have problems with my concentration. And it's like, it's very, very distracting. So it's like, squirrel. It's like you be walking, squirrel, you know. I'm one of those people. I laugh about it. Yep. And it is. Sometimes, and y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all, people with post-traumatic stress, they write a lot of notes. They write a lot of notes. And the reason why they write a lot of notes is because I don't know about with me. I have to write a lot of notes because if I don't write notes, I won't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, uh-oh. And people be like, didn't you remember to do that? I'll be like, no, I forgot. I forgot. I didn't mean to forget. I forgot. I'm also hyper vigilant because I re like for instance, I go out at night now, but you will see me looking around. I'm listening and stuff like that because I'm always like, oh my God, is something out to get me? I'm always thinking something is out to get me. So I got to make sure I get it before it get me. And exaggerated startle response. For instance, if somebody come up, people, my friends and family know not to do that boo thing with me, where you walk a boo, because I might start screaming at the top of my lungs, or you might get an elbow to the nose, or a kick to the groin, or I might fall out on the ground with a heart attack. I have maced somebody. I have tasered some people. My father and my mom, my family do not come in my house, especially if they think I'm asleep. When they come in the house, they make a whole bunch of noise. My father will beat on the hallway, on the wall, all the way up down the hallway, saying, "It's me, your dad. It's your dad. I'm in the house. I'm in the house. I'm in the house." And the reason he does that is because he knows I have guns in here. So he gets kind of there. My mom is like, don't just walk in the house on her because y'all know she startled real easy. She might take out the gun and just start shooting. So not my fault. um, and the duration of this is why I say everybody's PTSD is not the same. Because some people's duration might be only a couple of weeks, whereas somebody else's might be a couple of years. And then, with it being a couple of years, how does this affect your social life and your personal life and your work relationships, your functionality? My PTSD, uh, my PTSD has been chronic because my symptoms have lasted 3 months or more. Also, some people might say I've had delayed onset of my symptoms, but I didn't have delayed onset of my symptoms. They just weren't diagnosed at the time that it happened. If you get what I'm saying, they weren't diagnosed at the time that they happened. So, for instance, it happened at AIT. I didn't start seeing a psychiatrist until I got to permanent party, and it was about 2 years into permanent party when I had to go and see somebody, and then that was because of the dead bodies. That's a whole totally different story, y'all. That's a whole totally different story. And a lot of people that suffer from post traumatic trauma, you can either get psychotherapy, which is where you go and talk to somebody about it, or you can get psychopharmaceutical therapy. That's where you talk to somebody and take medication. I have psychopharmaceutical therapy. And I'm going to tell you guys, because of my post traumatic stress, I have depression and guilt. I have bipolar depression. And again, like I told you guys, I said I laugh about me always saying I was a recovering whore because I felt guilty about what happened to me. I felt it was my fault and I thought I brought it on. Y'all, it took me a long time to figure out that it wasn't my fault and I didn't do it. It was, him. It took a long time. And you guys, I'm telling y'all, you have to get to the point where you're going to decide to live your best life. And that's where I'm at. And I am going to drop this link. If it's anybody that want to come up, we could talk. I'm here to tell you. Y'all listen, it took me a long time to decide that this wasn't my fault. This ain't had nothing to do with me. I'm telling y'all. And some days I have to catch myself and say, Viv, this ain't you. This ain't your fault. You ain't had nothing to do with this. It is what it is. But guess what? I'm good with me. I'm good with me. I laugh. Hey, GP, how are you? I'm good with me. A lot of people are not good with themselves, but I'm good with me. And you have to be good with you. And you have to decide what your best options are. What your best options are and what you feel you need to do. If it's anybody want to come up, I dropped the link. And that's where we're at when we're talking about this post traumatic stress disorder thing. You got to get to where you feel um at your best with this post traumatic stress thing. I'm telling y'all, had it not for me, had it not been for me going to the VA and talking to somebody, I did, y'all. I went to cognitive behavior therapy. I did the CBT training. I did it. And I'm going to tell y'all, it was the hardest thing when you had to repeat that story over and over and over and over again. Yeah, every week, 2 to 3 times, I had to sit there and tell that lady exactly what happened to me. Hey, Kay, how are you? I'm going to bring you up.
Good, Miss Vivian. How are you?
Hey, darling, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I just wanted to quickly say, like, thank you so much for doing this particular episode. I personally suffer with PTSD, and like as you were reading through the signs and symptoms, like it was just and you were sharing your experience, it was just good to know that like I'm not alone. Um, a lot of times I feel like as Black women, these conversations aren't had. So like you doing this is just awesome. So thank you for doing it.
Oh no, you are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. I'm to the point now where somebody has to start the conversation. If we don't start the conversation, it'll never be had. And there's a lot of people out there right now that think they're out here suffering by themselves, but you guys, you're not alone. This is not an I'm not an isolated incident. I am not an isolated case. And for my women that were in the military, I'm not the only female that suffered from military sexual trauma. Look, I know there's probably some guys out there that suffer from military sexual trauma. And the VA has programs. You're right. And you're right. The VA does. They have lots of programs that that will help people, especially those who are potentially having financial situations. And the VA will help you with your mental health challenges. They have many different programs. I'm going to tell you, they have in-house programs, in-house therapy, where if you have to go in there and stay, they'll do it. They have uh therapies where you can do it by telephone. They got therapies where you can do it by uh video. They have therapies where you can go uh in person. They have the vet centers. Um, they have the veterans hospital. They have vet clinics. They have groups. They have one on one, and they will do what they need to do to help you. You understand what I'm saying? They have
And Miss
different. Go ahead, babe.
I'm sorry about that. And I also wanted to ask too for those of us who are not non-military, do you know if there are like any programs out there that people can reach out to, like if they don't have insurance? Like I'm blessed enough to have insurance, but I know a lot of people are not, and especially kind of what's going on with the pandemic, and then like the war in Russia. I can imagine that there's a lot of people who may have like anxiousness or um, maybe their PTSD is flaring up just because of what's kind of going on right now too.
For those of you who are not veterans, I would suggest that you call your local health department. I know here in my little town, they have a health department, and next to the health department is the mental health department that's attached to it. And you can go right into the mental health department and they will give you resources. I know this for a fact because I had a niece that was going through some mental health problems, and I went into through her school, and I told them that she needs some mental health, you know, services, and they actually were able to help her. So that's one thing you can do. If you have a child that is in school, the school it is is able to provide the child with mental health services. Now, this is the thing with the school. You got to monitor them to make sure that they're doing right by your child. But that's another way. Um, and every mental health problem doesn't take medication. Some do. Some symptoms of the mental health problem might take medication. Not every mental health problem take medication. Some of them might work with just cognitive behavior therapy. Some of them might work with just talking to a therapist. Some of them might work using holistic um, services. And you're right, Gold Professor. No civilian can go or use the VA services unless they are a veteran or a spouse. But that's why I said that if you are a civilian, one of the things that you might want to do is go to your local um, Department of Health and Human Services, DHS, and they can provide you with mental health um, options. Also, talk to your doctor, because your doctor might also be able to let you know some ways to go. Your personal physician.
Miss Vivian, I'm gonna drop down, but I also want to add, I use this app on the iOS App Store. It's called Bloom, and it's actually CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I ended up getting a lifetime subscription just by happenstance for free. But if you kind of look out for their emails, they have those type of things, and that really helps too. Maybe something that can help you in between seeing your doctor, you know. So I just wanted to say that. But thank you for having me up, and have a good day, Miss Vivian.
You're more than welcome. You are more than welcome, and thank you for coming up.
Yeah,
And
no
and
problem.
she's and she's right. Go to your app stores. There may be an app that you see that you might like. Um, I have several apps. One of the other things I do is I have to practice meditation and calming myself. Me practicing meditation and calming myself, it works for me. I have to do that because if I don't, it's times where I'll be like sitting there and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Me and my anxiety and my anxiousness. It's not good. It's not good. It is not good at all being that anxious. That anxiousness is not a good feeling. It's not. But I am here to tell each and every one of you, guess what? You too can get through it. You don't always have to feel like you're on a steady, you're on a state of alert. You don't always have to feel like your world is closing in on you. You don't always have to feel like, uh, because it was times, and y'all know how I am with my religion. There was times I felt like God wasn't even there for me. But you don't always have to feel that way. You can get through this. And you're right, feeling anxious all the time is so exhausting. It is so exhausting. You're right. Y'all see what she said? Feeling anxious all the time is so exhausting. It is. It takes a lot out of you. Now just think about that. If you're feeling exhausted all the time and you can't get no sleep, Sharon, that's not a good feeling at all. That's not a good feeling at all. But I just want to tell you, you too can get through this. Don't forget, you can go through. Make sure that you, especially my veterans, there are programs. There are programs out there that the VA has in place that will help you. That will help you manage your PTSD. Then there are programs, and Go Professor said it best. There are also programs that will help you find employment and that will help you with your management and the care. There are also work programs to help you manage the PTSD and anxiety. And y'all, that was one of my things. I had to learn to manage my PTSD and anxiety. Some of y'all know where I work at. Y'all know I had to learn to work and hold that thing together. The truth says people think I'm weird because I must sit with my back against the wall in public. Don't like to be in pub. Don't like don't like not being able to see a door. Uh, no, ain't nothing weird about that. Cause guess what? Me and my cousin went out to dinner the other day, and the two of us was looking stupid. Like, which one of us about to sit with our back to this door? Cousin and I, we was sitting at the table like we was standing at the table like this, looking at each other like, you know, I'm not sitting with my back to that door. And she was looking at me like, I ain't sit. She ended up sitting with her. She ended up sitting with her back to the door, but I was already upset because they put us near a window. And it's like, yeah, it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And the truth is right. The VA website has great programs that are free. You're right. And honey, Kay, I don't even know the last time I went to a movie and like I got people like I went to a movie once and this guy was like, we're gonna sit in the middle. I was looking at him like, no, I'm not. Why you always I said you can sit wherever you want to sit. I'm sitting right down here up front, kind of sort of, so I can see, but I need to be able to hit this door just in case something happens. I'm not doing that. I'm not sitting in the middle. He wanted to sit in the middle up with no, I don't want to sit where I don't want to have to be a Power Ranger to get out the middle of the out of the center aisle. I'm not playing with them. Exactly, exactly, truth. I gotta watch outside and to do it at the same time. My parents, they be looking at me when I go out to dinner. I'm telling you, when my parents and I go out to dinner, everybody look at me. They're like, "Where we gonna sit at?" I be looking around like this, y'all. Like I gotta see where exit at, cause I gotta be able to hit the exit real quick. I gotta be able to see who coming in and who going out. I gotta see how how I can take care of myself and my people that I'm with. That's me, and I need to see if excuse me. I need to see if it's somebody coming in there causing trouble. Because if they coming in causing trouble, it's about to be some trouble started. I'm just saying. But that's where we're at, and I tell each and every one of you, um, you got to get to the point where you realize that whatever the traumatic circumstances is not necessarily your fault. Again, that's where I had to go. Mental health services for veterans, for the most part, are for veterans at a 30% disability rate or higher. You also may go to the VA hospital at a zero rating. You're right. You can't go to the mental health you can't go to the VA for a zero rating. And you know what? Okay, different people have different rituals that they do. Um, in reference to their post traumatic stress. For instance, with me, again, like the truth, I'm not sitting with my back to windows and doors in public. That ain't happening. Y'all, if this door right here started to come open, y'all might y'all might hear shooting going off right here. I'm just saying. Cause it's always, it's that hypervigilant stuff going on. It's just weirdness. So that's and you're right. You have to know your triggers. Um, you have to know your triggers. Everybody don't, and I'm gonna tell you, for those of you who are on here, it took okay, so my therapist, she always laughs and tells me I'm not like most of her patients. And I'm like, what? She's like, I'm not like most of you're not like most of my patients. I say, why do you say that? She said, because you're so self-aware. You're more aware of your triggers than most people are. And I didn't realize that a lot of people were not aware of what their triggers were. So again, that is one of the main reasons why, you hear people out on here arguing and fussing, fighting on YouTube. I can't do that. Not I won't do it, but I can't do it because it's a trigger for me. Why am I gonna put myself in a situation where it's gonna trigger me, where I'm gonna be up in the house tearing my house up off over some people that I've never met or I don't know, and I probably 9 times out of 10 will never see. It might be making them a good coin, and I'm up in here losing my mind. And go, Professor, you are right. In the event that your PTSD is found valid, you will be rendered services along with medication, and it could be at a lesser cost or free, depending upon your VA rating. And you may also be compensated financially. And the truth, you are right. You do need to identify what your triggers are, even if you think they're the most minute things. Even if you think they might not ever happen, you do need to find out what your triggers are. Because if you don't know what your triggers are, you don't know how to avoid certain situations and keep yourself out of certain situations so that, or learn how to manage those situations. And, one of my things of managing, some of it is avoidance. I'm learning to live with it, but some of mine is avoidance. I just avoid certain situations. Why put yourself in a situation you don't have to be in? That's what I always say. And I'm having this, only reason I'm having this conversation today, y'all, is because there are a lot of people out here that's struggling. It's a lot of people out here that's struggling. And you say they will not push you to the point of being triggered. Yeah, they will. Some of these people will. They'll try it. They'll try and trigger you. They'll try and trigger you. They'll try and trigger you till you hurt yourself or others. And that's why I'm just at a point now. I'm like, I'm just standing back, and I just stand back and I watch them. And some people think it's funny. What do you mean? The questions they ask is to validate your experience. What do you mean? Some of the questions they ask is not to validate your experience. Some of the questions they ask is to make your experience seem like it never happened on at all. Some of the questions they ask is to try and make you upset. Don't make me upset. Just leave me alone. That's all I tell them folks. Just let me be. But I am at a point, y'all, in my life that I'm old enough to know that some of these people they don't have lives of their own, so they just do what they do just to harass you. All right, my darling. Yes, we will talk soon. Cause I need to ask you some more questions and give you another tip about something else that we were working on. So that's where we are. Oh, you're right. During your PTSD exam, they want to validate your experience to see if your service connect. You're right. You're right. You are right about that. Part of my part of my personal disability, y'all. I had a therapist. I thought I was being seen for something else, but she figured that out that my bipolar depression was a symptom of my post traumatic stress disorder. And when I was attacked by the young man in class, what happened is she was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute." It brought out a whole bunch of stuff, and that is what happened with my post traumatic stress. Believe it or not. And so, in reference to my PTSD exam, I really didn't have to have a PTSD exam because the therapist had wrote up some paperwork and they looked at that. I don't know what they did. They looked at that paperwork. They was like, "Yeah, we ain't gotta have her come in and talk to her about this." I don't even y'all. I don't even remember having a PTSD exam. I do remember talking to a doctor. Maybe that's what that was. That was on a Saturday. Yeah, I tell y'all, I be forgetting stuff. It's all part of my like. I be like having to remember stuff. All right, GP says VA mental health programs also have people that have experience with helping you learn your triggers, addictions, and anxiety coupled with PTSD. As of late, peer support specialists are being added. You're right. I read about that last week, GP, about the peer support specialists that are being added and about them calling and they call and help you. So I did. I read the article about that last week. Well, you guys, it's been almost an hour. Y'all know I don't like to do it over an hour on here, although I will if needed. But I thank you guys for joining me for the Veterans Lounge. Y'all share this out with your friends. Oh, do you? That's pretty cool. If you are not rendered permanent and total, you will have to go to exams every 5 years. No, I'm glad I'm permanent and total because it's been 2013. What years is this? 2022. 2022. And with these new laws and changes, I ain't bothering them. They don't bother me. I will not bother the VA if they don't bother me. So you guys, thank y'all for coming joining me for the Veterans Lounge. And as my mom always say, live, love, and laugh. And as my daddy always said, Lord, make us a blessing so we can be a blessing. Y'all go back through this and look at this. And I want y'all to remember, if you are having problems with the mental health issues, please contact your local VA hospital um, and get help. There is help available. Um, there's no shame in asking for help. It's probably best that you do help, ask for help, because guess what? It's best that you go on and get the help now than to be sitting up there suffering in silence. And that's what I'm saying. You don't have to suffer in silence. Seek out help, you guys. There's always help. So I'm going to ask that if you have a thank you, GP. Hey, Mahogany, how are you, dear? I'm going to ask that if you are having problems, if you are thinking of harming yourself, um, if you are thinking of, if you're having problems and you don't, this is the number two, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. If you're having problems, please contact them. If you're a veteran and you need help, hey, Southern Belle, how are you? And I should have had these numbers out and ready. And this number right here is for veterans that I'm putting up here now. This number I'm putting up here right now is for veterans. If you're a veteran and you're contemplating, you're having any problems, contemplating hurting yourself or others, please dial that number. There's somebody there to talk to you. If you're contemplating hurting yourself or others, please call the number. Y'all know I had to call a couple of numbers to keep me from hurting somebody. I'm just saying. And if you have any questions, the truth, I have his email. I do have your email, Truth. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this. There you go, Truth. Type in the chat. Truth. Type in the chat real quick for me, sweetie. So you guys, I do have his email. I do have the Truth's email, and he gives me a lot of good. I've had to get counseling before, more than one. Look, Mahogany, I've had to get counseling. I'm gonna tell you, I've not only had to get counseling, but it has been to the point where I had a situation one time. I went to my doctor, and she said, hypothetically, hypothetically, what would you do hypothetically if you wanted to kill yourself? I said, hypothetically, if I wanted to kill myself, I'd do A, B, C, and D. And then literally, I couldn't go home for 3 days. How about that? Literally, I could not go home for 3 days. And when I tell you I couldn't go home, I was talking to my therapist and she said hypothetically, and I said hypothetically. I thought it was a hypothetical, but she took it as a literal. I don't know what I had said in that appointment before then. Probably because I told her I was gonna slit my cousin's throat. But I'm just saying, I think it's because I had told her I was gonna slit my cousin's throat. But she said hypothetically, if you want to hurt yourself or others, what would you do? Now I said hypothetically, this is what I do. But I had to learn. Don't answer no more hypothetical questions. Cause it turned into a literal. Y'all, when I tell y'all, I was like, I'm about to go home. Y'all, I got up to go out the door, and the security guard was standing. Security was standing there. She went and said, hold on a second. Went and talked to her supervisor and came back. And when I was like, I'm about to leave, y'all, the security was standing there. It was like, where you going? Said, I'm leaving. He was like, you can't leave yet. Y'all, they had security there waiting on me. Sure did. So yeah, I had to go upstairs to the third floor. I'm just saying. And it ain't no shame in it. And the truth, you right. I had to learn that you can't answer no questions about if you want to hurt yourself or others, especially in a presence. Because if you're in a presence and you in there with the therapist, they will call the daggone security and take you upstairs. I was like, this ain't happening ever again. Y'all ain't had no business up there. I ain't had no business up there. Excuse me, because they sure put you in a room. Y'all, y'all, they put you in a room where there ain't no bathroom doors. I'm just saying. That's not cool. Where they put you in a room where there ain't no bathroom doors and the furniture is heavy plastic. It ain't no mattresses or nothing. You just got heavy plastic. And because I was the only female on the ward, they had to send somebody outside my room to watch me sleep every night. I'm like, I don't know why you sitting up here watching me sleep because I'm not sleeping. And then because I was only female, they wouldn't even let me stay in the only female, the female only uh room. They were like, nope, you gotta come down here. I was like, I'm not coming down there. I'll stay in my room. The truth. I ain't lying. That when I got up, I was like, I'm going home. That security guard was standing outside that door looking at me like, where you going? I said, I'm going home. He was like, not today you won't be. I was like, what? Come again? I was like, my car right outside. He was like, not, you're not going home. Turn around, go back in there and sit down till your therapist get back. I just knew I was going home. And you're right, you can't go nowhere. I did. I was like, I learned my lesson that time. Now when they be asking me them loaded questions, I'm like, what you talking about? Why would you ask me that question? I'm fine. Mm-mm. Y'all, I got a whole thing anyway. I could never kill myself because the way my luck is, if I take pills, y'all listen to this. If I took some pills, I either end up in a coma or I wake up with a bad headache or some brain damage, something weird like that. If I shot myself, I'd miss and end up with half a head. That's the way my luck run. Y'all, I'm one of them people. So no, it ain't no need of me even trying to kill myself. Would you say you're immortal? You're immortal. That's what I feel like. If I went outside and jumped in front of a truck, I'd probably end up with a broken leg or a broken back, end up a quadriplegic. Something weird like that. That's the way my luck runs. So I figured, why try to kill myself? I keep telling the therapist, it ain't about that. I'm just tired. I be wanting some sleep, y'all. For real. Y'all look at my eyes. See them dark rings under there? It's because I'm tired. I want some sleep. Would you say would you say strapped to the gurney as they wheel you to the psych ward? Don't ask you how you know. And the truth says he's actually died twice in case they did. The truth, I died once on an operating table. That's a whole nother story. A whole nother story. I seen Jesus and everything. That's a whole nother story. Had to talk with God. It's a whole nother story. But I understand. And go, Professor, I'm not messing with you. Talk about being strapped to a gurney. Will to the psych ward. At least they didn't have to strap me to a gurney to get me to the psych ward. They just walked me up there. I said, I'll go on my own. I was like, stop it, don't touch me. I'll go on my own. You ain't got to touch me. Move, I'll move. That was me, y'all, going to the psych ward. Stop it. And me telling the therapist, you better be glad you leaving. You just didn't like me. You just been wanting to put me in a hospital. I was sitting up there like this for 3 days. All right. Thank you, GP, for stopping past. And I like to thank you for stopping past. And y'all listen, again, it's been over an hour. I said I was getting off of here anyway. I like to thank the Truth and the Shells and Mahogany Roots and Celine and who else been in here? Gold P, Celine. Hey, we here. We here, baby. We here. She and Shells and Miss K. I thank you so much for coming up on the panel and joining me. And y'all, I'm just telling y'all, if you need help, there's always help out there. Go get it. And don't be afraid. What? See, I ain't have to wake up in a small room, the truth. They ain't got to put me in a small room. Mm-mm. I wasn't in a padded cell enough. And I was like, I'll go on my own free will. They did make me take my clothes off, but they did let me keep my navel ring in. They made me take out my earrings, but they let me keep my navel ring in. I was like, look, I ain't trying to mess this hole up. I said, I promise y'all I won't do nothing. So they just had to get my medication regulated. That's all that was. They got it regulated in 72 hours. I'm just saying. They said I hadn't been sleeping enough. So that's basically what it was. They wanted me to sleep for a couple hours. I did. I got some good sleep while I was there. Y'all, it was a holiday weekend too. Shoot, I got some good old sleep. Anyway, y'all, I'm out. I'm going in here. Y'all, I just finished working out too from the VA. So I gotta go take me a shower. And please subscribe and hit the like button. You guys, if you have any questions, Gold P is very knowledgeable. The Truth is very knowledgeable. And I'm going to ask you guys, if you guys have any questions, you always can email me. I got other resources besides the Truth and Gold Professor, and I got other resources, and we'll get y'all the answers you need. Best believing. Best be believing. All right, y'all. I thank y'all for coming over, and I'm out. Deuces, two fingers. Wait a minute, no.